Hi everyone, it's Laura here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is part of a video hop that was organized by my crafty friend Jessica from A Card Day's Work and me. And the reason why we put this hop together is that we both hit 3000 subscribers here on YouTube pretty much at the same time. A lot of crafty friends decided to join in to help us celebrate, and a lot of very generous sponsors also decided to support the hop. So there will be a lot of inspiration and giveaways, and I will tell you everything about it during the video. But for now, let's have a look at how I created today's card. I started off by doing some die cutting, and I used the Heffy Doodle Clover frames dies to first die cut some stitch rectangles. I left one as is, and that will be my sky background, and then I cut the others using some dies from Fawn to create my landscape elements. For the sandbank I used the simple stitched wavy borders, and for the sea I used the stitched wave borders. And because I had previously die cut everything with the stitched rectangle die by Heffy Doodle, I will have a stitched border that is continuous all around my card front. I really love creating scenes, and I love building up my own landscapes and adding color and customize them to have them exactly as I want. And a medium that I use really often to add color is distress inks. It's either inks or oxides, but I very often feature these products in my cards because they're really fun to use. I decided to create an orangey sky, and I'm going to blend squeezed lemonade, mustard seed, carved pumpkin and ripe persimmon on the top portion of my sky background. I'm leaving the lower portion of the panel blank because I know that that will be covered by the beach and by the ocean. And I'm focusing my blending at the top. I'm using some mini ink blenders by Ranger, and I'm going back and forth between colors so that I get a nice and smooth blend. And the fact that I'm using Bristol Smooth cardstock by Strathmore makes my blending even easier because the cardstock itself has some sort of a smooth coating on top, which makes your ink slide and allows you to get really nice and smooth results. I then decided that I wanted to add a little bit more detail to the sky background and a lot of shimmer to it. So I used a STENCIL by Studio Katia together with Nuvo Glimmer Paste in Moonstone. I really love this paste, and as you can see I went through my jar and it's almost over, so I really need to get some more before this runs out. The stencil that I'm using is called Underwater Sun Rays Stencil. As I said, it's by Studio Katia, and I secured it to my glass mat using some washi tape. Once I'm done applying the glimmer paste, I can remove the stencil, lift off my background. And when using pastes, you really want to wash your surface and your tools immediately so that they don't dry on top of them, and then they're pretty hard to remove. I set my sky background aside to dry and started working on the ocean borders. I'm doing again some ink blending with distress inks, but in this case I'm using Salty Ocean, Faded Jeans and Chipped Sapphire. I wanted to leave the top panel a little bit lighter, so for that one I used only Salty Ocean and Faded Jeans, whereas the one that will be at the back is going to be a little bit darker, and there I introduced the Chipped Sapphire. And the reason for doing that is that basically by having a darker ocean border on the background and having a lighter one on the foreground is going to increase the depth in my scene. I then decided to use another stencil by Studio Katia. This one is called Brush Stroke Waves Stencil. Again, I secured it on top of my glass mat, and then I took a baby wipe. Mine are dry, so I had to spritz some water on them. You want them to be wet, but not soaking wet. And I just, as you can see, I swiped it across the stencil so that it would activate the inks and lift them off. And this way I'm going to create a subtle wavy pattern on my ocean borders that will add more interest to the card. The last landscape element for my scene is the beach, and for that I ink blended antique linen distress ink and vintage photo distress ink. This is pretty much my standard combination for any beach scene. I rarely move away from that. So I'm keeping the vintage photo at the bottom so that I create some shading and some dimension on the panel. And then to add some more texture and make this look like sand, I added some water droplets as well as some droplets with distress ink in vintage photo and antique linen, which are, as I just said, the distress ink colors that I used to do my ink blending. I then started working on my images, and the stamp sets I'm going to use today are the Hey Summer stamp set by SugarPea Designs, the On the Beach stamp set by Fawn, and the Smooth Sailing stamp set also by Fawn. I arranged the images in my mini Misty, and I'm going to stamp them with scrapbook.com premium hybrid black ink on a sheet of Nina Solar White 110 pounds cardstock, and I'm going to be doing some coloring with my Spectrum Noir markers. Because I'm using my mini Misty, I'm able to repeatedly stamp in the same position so that I get a really nice and crisp impression. And the stamp set from SugarPea Designs has also a swimsuit that you can stamp on top of the bear, and I wanted to do that, but at this stage I forgot. I will realize a little bit later and I will show you how I fixed that. But at this point I just went ahead and started coloring the images with my Spectrum Noir markers. I wanted the bear to be white, but I'm still going to add some shading so that I can create some depth and dimension to my image. And for that I'm going to use some warm gray markers. The markers I used are BG3, BG2 and BG1. And before going ahead and coloring, I had planned out my scene. Because we have those sun rays that come from the center, there will be our light source coming from the center of the card. So my shadows will be on one or the other side of the images, depending on whether these images sit on the left side of my card or on the right side of my card. In this case, because I know that the bear will be on the left side of the card, I also have the shadows on his left side. I'm also adding some cast shadows under the muzzle and under his arm, because this will show that these parts are protruding, so they're standing in front of his face and his body respectively. And I'm going to blend my markers together until I get a nice shading and a smooth blend. While I go ahead and color the rest of the images, I wanted to talk to you about this video hop. As I said, this was organized by my friend Jessica. She's known as a Card Day's Work in the crafty community, and we organized it together to celebrate the fact that we reached 3,000 subscribers here on YouTube pretty much at the same time. We reached out to the crafty community to see if somebody was interested in celebrating with us, and we also asked some companies if they were interested in supporting the hop by being sponsors and donating prizes for you guys. And as always in this amazing community that is the card making and paper crafting community, the response was really positive. And so today we are celebrating with the summer themed hop, which is full of prizes and inspiration. I will get back to the giveaways real quick, but I just wanted to mention that here is where I realized that I actually wanted my bear to have a swimsuit, so I partially stamped the bear on a separate piece of cardstock. I stamped the swimsuit on top, and then I colored it with my Spectrum Noir markers again. Coming back to the giveaways, as I said, there are prizes to be won, and the winners will be selected among all the comments left on all the stops in the hop. So the more you watch and comment, the higher your chances to win. The deadline for comments is July the 10th, and the winners will be announced on my channel as well as on Jessica's channel on July the 15th. All the giveaway information will be included in the description box under this video on YouTube, and there you will also find a link to the next stop in the hop. I really hope you will enjoy the inspiration in the hop and you will find some new crafters to follow and new channels to inspire you. So do make sure to leave some love to all the nice crafters that so generously decided to jump in and celebrate with us. Some even have donated their own prizes, and obviously also a big thank you goes to all the sponsors that decided to support our hop by donating prizes for you guys. Lastly, one thing that I wanted to mention is that some prizes are available to US residents only, so please make sure to state in your comments whether you are US based or international. Back to the card, once all the coloring was done, I cut the images. Both sets come with coordinating dies and I will have them linked in the description box down below for you. I did not do any die cutting on the image where I have the swimsuit, but instead I cut it out with my scissors. I did not leave any white space, but I cut right along the black border. And then to make the edges look more neat, I'm going to run a black marker on the edges themselves. This is a Memento black marker, and I then could go ahead and adhere the swimsuit to the bear. And I'm also going to adhere the surfboard. I'm going to glue it so that he's holding it between his arms. And the Hey Summer coordinating dies die cut the arm of the bear for you, which I think is a very cool feature. At this point, I started playing around with the images and checked the scene and the position of all the elements. And I figured out that I had the back ocean border that was a little bit too long. So I used my guillotine trimmer by Tonic Studios to trim off the excess. And then I could go ahead and adhere everything to my sky background. I am being pretty generous with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive because I have all the texture from the glimmer paste on my sky background. I could in principle have used double-sided foam adhesive, but I didn't want to add too much dimension to the card. The top part of that ocean wave border didn't want to stay down, so I added some extra glue and I put an acrylic block on top. I waited maybe a minute, actually Nuvo Deluxe adhesive dries pretty quickly, and then I could move on and complete my scene. I first glued down the second ocean border and then in the forefront I'm going to have the sandbank. And then came the fun part where I actually started adhering all the images. I really love seeing cards and I love seeing them come together and come to life, and the more detail you add, the nicer they look in the end. I'm also tucking images behind other images like the balloon behind the sand or the SPF behind the beach towel, because this adds more interest and a feel of depth to the scenes. For some finishing touches, I had to add some more shimmer, and I added that with a Spectrum Noir clear overlay pen. I used it to coat the balloon, the sails, the little umbrella on the drink, as well as the surfboard. And then I moved on to the sentiment. I used the Whatcha saying stamps and dies by Heffy Doodle. This stamp a speech bubble, and then there is a number of sentiments that fit exactly in the speech bubble. I chose the sentiment that reads "Today is the big day" because I felt it was quite appropriate for today's video. I then used the coordinating dies to die cut the speech bubble and added some shading using my Spectrum Noir markers again. I adhered everything to a top folding A2 card base. This is some heavyweight white cardstock by Heffy Doodle that is cut at 5.5 by 8.5 inches and scored at 4.25 inches. And then I had to add one last finishing touch, which was coating part of the images with glossy accents. I went ahead and actually coated the entire surfboard with the glossy accents. This will dry clear but will add a nice and glossy detail. And then I also coated the beach ball, the bear's nose, the little straw and the tiny flag on top of the boat. As you can tell, I was having a lot of fun and it was pretty hard to stop, so I added some shimmer to the bear's swimming suit too, and that finished off the card. I really liked the way it turned out, and as I said, I had a lot of fun creating it, and I love all the extra detail brought in by the finishing touches. And that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Make sure to check out the information box below for all the information about the giveaways and for a link to the next stop in the hop. Thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.